Hey everyone, I'm Laura Scott, and I'm a certified trauma-informed life coach specializing in narcissistic abuse. Well, today's topic is why are most politicians narcissists? Now, I wanted to also say that I filmed this earlier. I filmed this right after Biden had announced that he was stepping down. So, some of the facts, there's been a lot that's happened since then. So, some of it's not necessarily accurate to today. So, I just wanted to preface it with that. And I've decided to turn off the comments just because it's very close to the elections. And if you're new to this channel, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's get into the cycle of abuse. So, the cycle of abuse is essentially, it starts out with love bombing. So, I'm going to talk about politicians in general and their campaigns, because that's often where we see the most love bombing within a political spectrum. So, during their campaigns, they make empty promises and get others to rally behind them. So, campaigns are often driven by bold statements like, make America great again, a slogan, a driving force, something that people can repeat and believe that that's what the politician stands for. So they get you by using these phrases of love bombing, making empty promises, and they get together rallies to really rile people up to support them, which I think is a good thing. I think that is, that is something that we stand for as Americans. Like, it is our right to be able to do these things. But I also know that it's like the way that they rally the people makes them believe that they are for one thing, and it's really not necessarily what they stand for. So they truly make others believe they are amazing and will fix all their problems. So if you ever heard a politician promise all of these things, it's like, okay, they look at all the different problems in the world. So like often during a debate, it's like, what are the topics that they talk about? The most common problems, inflation and jobs and the economy and racial indifferences and the environment. And within all of these lenses, they provide a solution. So each politician says, if this is a problem, I will solve it this way. And I'm not saying that that is wrong, because clearly there is, there are ways to solve some of these problems in the world. And it is a good thing that they talk about it. They talk about what they're going to do. But I do believe that, sometimes they're making these promises that they can't keep, and oftentimes they are. They're saying, I'm going to solve the problem of hunger all over the world. And it's like, no one can do that, even within their term. Like that's a very heavy promise. And even if it's a smaller promise, it often doesn't get fulfilled within the time that they're in office. And some of that has to do with them not understanding the logistics of like when they're actually in office and what they're capable of doing. But it's, all politicians do this. So they, let's see. So they also are shaking hands and taking pictures. So the idea of a politician is like somebody that's charming, that's going to like shake everybody's hand, that's going to like take pictures with babies and children and their family, and make it you seem like a normal everyday person because they want to relate to the people. But often that's just for show. And, you know, it's not always, but I think there are a lot of politicians that use those type of things for show. Okay, so the devalue phase. So the devalue phase is when the narcissist starts to realize that the people may not see them in the light that they thought they were. So in order to gain control, they devalue the other person versus taking the blame on themselves. So during the devalue phase, like once they've been found out to be lying and disliked by the people, they will continue to spread the lies further to make you believe in their delusions. So basically, if they're caught in a lie, if they're caught saying one thing and it turns out to be something different, they usually dig their heels in further into the lie. And the reason that they do that is because they don't ever want to make people think that they're lying, because that it shows the side of them that they don't want them to see. And a very good example of that is with Biden and the whole campaign, basically saying he's completely fit, he's completely fine, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. And even after he has made his resignation, he still dug his heels in and said, I still did an amazing job, and I'm still really fit. And, you know, it's like they don't want to let people know that they somehow lied to them, because that is a big deal. Like it's a big deal that once people realize that they've been lied to, it's really hard to gain their trust again, which is kind of what's happening all over the world. I think people are waking up to the corruption, and they're realizing they've been lied to for a lot of things. So, and then they will smear to anyone who criticizes them. So they're going to smear anyone. They're going to basically like tell people that, you know, they did, they're the person that's wrong. Like, you know, it's more about pointing fingers at the other person to take the blame away from them. So they'll discard their political opponent. They'll smear them to get them to really seem like the bad guy instead of them. And they make their opponent seem like the problem, like I just said. So the discard phase is once the politician or once the narcissist has been found out and they've been basically turned on, instead of them taking the blame, they will often blame other people and completely discard them as, you know, valuable. So politicians will do this, and they may make some good on some of the promises sometimes, and but they will demonize anyone who speaks out against them. So they basically will demonize the other political opponent. They'll make them seem like the bad guys, and they will throw out any evidence that they are doing anything wrong. So, all right, so now on to the hoovering phase. So the hoovering phase of the narcissistic abuse is often when the narcissist will, once they've kind of been found out, once their reputation is on the line, they realize it, they're going to try to hoover you back in certain ways. And this doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be, you know, still in the limelight, but they're going to make you believe that they're still a good person. So the way that they'll do this is once they realize that they have turned, they will try to find a way for you to like them again. So they'll do something really good, and they'll actually make good on their promises, and they'll show people, oh yeah, see, I'm still I'm still good, you know, like this is who you voted for. And sometimes that works because people believe what they see. They see, oh, they're actually doing what they said they were going to do. But it takes till now until they actually do it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that they're actually doing something really good. A good example of this right now would be when so after the attempted assassination on Trump, um RFK has Robert Kennedy has been asking for Secret Service, for extra Secret Service because of his family, because he is his uncle was JFK and his father was Bobby Kennedy, who both were assassinated. So he has always asked for extra Secret Service and during his campaigns and his rallies. And he has been denied and denied and denied. Well, right after the attempted assassination on Trump, Biden made good on his promise, and he gave him the Secret Service detail that he needed. But it was only after being pressured and like he didn't want to be seen as a in a bad way, that he didn't actually care about these situations that are dire, that may have been prevented with better detail and security. Who knows? But that's that's a good example of hoovering, because it was, especially because it was right before he was leaving. So it made him look good kind of at the last minute. So people will kind of see that and say, oh, well, he did do this. So yeah, like they will actually make good on some of their promise to make them seem like they're good. And they will make it seem like everything they did was so great. And even if they are leaving office, will never admit that they are wrong or did anything wrong. So it's just clear when, politicians, even when they step down, even when they've basically been, forced out, or, by the people, or by, the people surrounding them, that they're not going to back down on how good they were of a politician. They'll always brag about all the good things that they did right at the end. And it really kind of shows, with the last speech that Biden did. It's just, a really good example of like how they brag about everything in order to gain your approval. Okay. So why do they do this? I'm sure everyone's wondering. Well, it's pretty obvious with some of them. They love power. All narcissists love power and control to some extent, but it takes a very hungry individual to want to become president. So I feel like in smaller local governments, there is a chance that some of the politicians may actually be there to like actually create change and actually do good. But I think the higher up that you get, the harder it is, especially financially, to be able to become that. And it takes a lot of ego and a lot of guts to be able to be in that position that they're at. So I'm not saying it's right, but I think that's why so many narcissists are in that position, because they have an altered sense of ego. They really have are very confident in themselves, to a point where they're egotistical. And that often is what politicians are. They're just in this position of power because they love power. And another obvious one, they love money. So this one speaks for itself. Most politicians at a high level have tons of money, and to be able to stay in the race. So it's clear. Sometimes it's a matter of like who has more money than another person. And I don't believe that that was the original intention for the United States. I don't believe that it was originally intended to be a contest of politicians that have more money than each other. I really do believe that it was intended to be anyone could run. And that's what, we've kind of all grown up hearing. It's like anyone can become president, anyone can be in this power. But when you really look at it, when you see it from the top, it's like the ones with the most money are able to campaign. That you can't campaign without tons and tons of money to be able to throw at that. So it really it's corrupted because of that. And the way that we change that is, even if it is tons of money now, we can, they raise money through their campaigns, through their donors and everything, but a lot of the ones that are at the top get so much more money from other people. And yeah, I think that there are ways that we can change that. We can change that system if we really want to. Okay, and they love looking like the savior. So all politicians have a savior complex, and they pretend to swoop in and save the day. So a lot of narcissists have a savior complex. They love to fix people. They love to swoop in and save the problems that somebody else has. And on the flip side, codependents do this as well, but it's a very different tactic. So as far as a narcissist, why they would swoop in and save the day and try to do it, it's all to boost their ego so that they look good. Whereas a codependent's motivation might actually be because they really want to help that other person. But it also gives them a sense of like, that I'll feel better, like, if this person is a better person or does these things that I approve of and like. So it is very similar motivation, but there's a slight difference in the motivation of why. And they love the limelight. So clearly, narcissists love the limelight, and so do politicians. I don't think anyone who is extremely introverted or extremely like passive and doesn't want to be in the spotlight or shy would be able to be in that position, because you have to speak in front of large groups of people. You have to be confident in those ways, and that's just, narcissists kind of thrive in those environments. So my next question to you is, so how do we change this? How do we change this system? I love this Jimi Hendrix quote. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. So yes, I'm a hippie. I love, quotes about peace, and I love quotes about changing the world. And I think that we are slowly shifting to that type of world. Even if it looks like chaos right now, like the whole political system is crumbling, like everything around us is crumbling, it's because we can't build a system on a rocky foundation. We have to crumble the system that we have before we can build a new one. So what does that mean? What does that look like? I don't think any of us really know what all that entails, and how, how we're going to do this, and still be able to have what we have today. But I do believe that even though it looks rocky and chaos and scary, my take on that is that we're actually going in the right direction, because we're actually crumbling the system in order to build a new one. And I do believe that, maybe I'm an optimist at heart, but been a little bit more pessimistic lately. But I think that, ultimately we are moving towards that. And that's kind of our goal. And I think that another idea of how we can change the system is find those who want to run locally. So everyone talks about how corrupt politicians are. And yes, at the top levels, they really are. And it's really hard. And even maybe you look at some of your local politicians and think, well, they're also corrupt. Well, the thing about that is that so many people can run for political positions locally. And maybe you're not a politician, maybe you don't want to be that. You can still find somebody locally that you really like and rally behind them. You can actually like make a bigger impact because you can actually talk with this person specifically and actually get an idea, a sense of what they really are trying to do locally, and maybe they'll really make good on their promises more so than a top-down politician. So that's one idea of what we can do to change this. This is my idea, and take it or leave it, but I really believe in voting third party. And why I believe that is because I think that they have created this system where we are brainwashed to believe that only a two-party political system is going to work. And that if we vote for a third party, that we would take our vote away from a certain candidate. My thinking is, if every single person voted for who they really wanted in office, I believe that we would have a chance to get them in office. And I think that it's been such a brainwashing lie that we've been told that it really makes people believe that it's true. When I honestly have been voting third party for a while now, and I really do believe that that's actually, the way that we can change certain things. Say, like, we don't want this. Like, it's our vote is telling them we don't want this, or we do want this, but we don't want this. And I really do believe that, third parties can work. I think that, if enough of us really are in that mindset, because I really, you speak to many Americans today, and so many people that I talk to are fed up with this political system and don't like either candidate. And if people really voted for who they wanted, I do believe we could completely change this. So that's just my thinking on that. So another idea is just to make your voice heard. Maybe you're not a politician, but you are rallying behind a cause and something that you truly believe in the world. Maybe, it can be anything from like environmental to something that you really like believe in. And I honestly think that we should have a voice and have a say and really kind of make our voices heard in a peaceful manner, But I think that that's a way that we can also change the system as well. And then don't buy into the fear. Like that's one of the main things is politicians use the fear to divide us, and don't let the current political influence who you surround yourself with. If a politician is telling you that, don't be friends with this person because of who they voted for, I really don't believe that that's a really good message to get across, because we're all different. We all have different views. And I honestly spent a lot of the past couple years waking up to the realization and making friends with people on both sides. And I'll get my little plug here. I always talk about this in person, but there's an organization called Braver Angels that I was a part of for the past couple years, and I really truly believe that they have a really good message, and their message is to help stop the divide of politics between friends and family, and to bridge that gap in order to have healthy conversations. They do a lot of debates with a mediator that will help you bring you back to an understanding of what the other person is saying, rather than getting into a political argument and yelling. So I've kind of come to realize that, you know, no matter who somebody voted for, no matter what they, you know, who they are, like what they look like, it's really, you know, it really comes down to like we're all human beings. And like I really think that they're trying to like divide us into like different factions in order to make us angry at each other so that we're not actually angry at them. And I really do believe that that's, you know, a big part of what's going on right now. And the less that you give into this divide, I think the better off that we're going to be. And there is I'm going to bring up this metaphor. I don't know if you remember the ants in the jar metaphor. So I'm just going to read it off. It says, if you collect 100 black ants and 100 fire ants and put them in a glass jar, nothing will happen. But if you take that jar and shake it violently and leave it on the table, the ants will start killing each other. Red ants believe the black ant is the enemy, while the black ant believes the red is the enemy. When the real enemy is the person who shook the jar. The same is true in society. Men versus women, black versus white, faith versus science, youngs versus old, etc. Before we fight each other, we must ask ourselves, who rocked the jar? So I don't know if that's the official quote. I've heard different versions of it, but apparently it comes from Kurt Vonnegut's 1963 novel Cat's Cradle. That was an original quote that I found. It's a passage from the book that sparked this. It wasn't necessarily directly from that, but we can prevent this political divide and create a better world for society and for everyone. And yes, I'm a hippie, I know. Like it seems like very kumbaya, like we're all gonna hold hands and be happy and unity again. And I don't really believe that that's true. But I do think that if we try little things and we stop listening to the political divide, the devices that they use to separate us and to make us angry at each other, I do believe that we can start realizing that, you know, that this is narcissistic abuse. Like that's the main point of this video that I wanted to make, is that this is a level of narcissistic abuse, and they're really good because they know how to affect us. They know what's going to trigger us. They get us at the very, you know, heartstrings and make us believe that our ways are right. And I do really think that, you know, at some point that we have to drop those guards and realize that that we've been gaslit, and that really, you know, not like none of this really, I don't want to say this in a way that like I feel like nothing matters, but I do understand that these issues are very potent and important. But I really do believe that some of what they're dividing us on really doesn't matter. And what matters is keeping our being good to our fellow humans. So I'll leave it at that. And so to conclude this video, I wanted to thank you all and ask you if you wanted to like and subscribe to my video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good night. Bye.